Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Good evening and welcome to our coverage here on Simspeed TV of the Australian Turbo Touring Car iRacing series, coming to you today for the first time under the lights in this three-season history, coming from, well, quite fittingly, home of the Rolex 24-hour, possibly the USA's most iconic endurance event, as we take a road trip across the US this season. We're headed to Daytona, using the road course for what will, I'm sure, be another fantastic edition of the season. Jackson Harlow's got undefeated so far. Can anyone stop him today on the high banks of Daytona? My name is Ryan Jones. Alongside me in the booth is Cameron Dance, and Jake Kennedy is behind the scenes, of course, making it all work smoothly for us. And Cameron, up on the banking, going to be a lot of slipstream coming into effect. Going to make it very hard for anyone to pull away.
Absolutely. This is basically as close as we're going to get to Monza at this stage, and draft is everything. I mean, it's not quite an oval race, but it might as well be. And the fact that it's going to play such a role in this race is just going to make it all that much more interesting. Really, really looking forward to it and seeing what sort of strategies we see coming to the line.
Yes, we've seen some very interesting finishes at this track, both the road course and the oval version over the years. Thanks to our sponsors, of course, who make all of this possible: Simfinity, RMS Race Management Service, RSW Graphics, and Apex Imagery. Without them, you wouldn't be having this broadcast up on your screens at the moment. So qualifying currently underway. Going to be quite a while before we get our first lap time in, because it's close to a 2-minute lap time, which means there's not going to be many laps in these two races either. As always, 2 races ahead of us and 2 qualifying sessions. We go qualifying right now for race 1, which is a 10-minute sprint. And then we head over to a new server. Qualifying again for 10 minutes. 3 laps they get in those 10 minutes. And then race 2, a 20-minute affair with a compulsory pit stop for a minimum of 2 tyres. And if you want to win the race, it'll be a maximum of 2 tyres as well. Tyres could be a talking point today, Cameron. A lot of people saying that they're overheating quite a bit up there on the banking.
Yeah, certainly. The banking will be putting a lot of load and a lot of heat through those right-hand side tyres. So, going to be very intriguing to see what the tyre strategies are going to be here. And obviously, a slight increase in wear as well from one of the more recent rounds. So, we'll see what happens in terms of tyre strategies in race 2. It's possibly going to be more right side favoured than the likes of fronts or lefts, but who knows what's going to happen. We might even see people take 4.
No, I think that's probably a bit too much of a stretch, Cameron. So, there we go. Fixtures up on the screen. And that is Sebastian Murray Wesberg we see coming out of the bus stop through oval or NASCAR 3 and 4. And it's all flat out. The car tops out at its top speed pretty quickly. So you're just bouncing off that limiter all the way out of the start finish.
Yeah, certainly. It's a very, very long run from the bus stop all the way to turn 1, and you're pretty much revving the crap out of the car the whole way. And you're basically on the limiter from pretty much the start finish line until you hit the brake pedal in turn 1. And I imagine that it's going to be even longer on the limiter with the draft being in effect in the races as well. I'm not going to be surprised if we're going for at least from the exit of NASCAR 4 all the way through to turn 1 on the limiter. So yeah, it's really going to be quite fascinating to see. And also what the difference between being on the limiter for so long versus having a longer draft is going to take, because you're obviously going to want that run to the finish line to try and pass everybody in front of you. But at the same time, you're not going to really want to be on the limiter for all that long, so you don't end up overheating the car.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing is it's very easy to pick up an off-track to that bus stop. You try to carry as much speed as possible, so you try to straight line it, as much as you can as you're weaving your way through there. Someone that got caught out by that was Jackson Harlow. He got an off-track on that one, so he hasn't got a time down yet. Ashley Norman doing a pretty good job on his first attempt, up in 4th place, Chicken Up Racing. Riley Preston sits at the top by 0.3 of a second. Ashley Norman, though, he is one of the drivers who's brought out the webcam, I think, for the first time we've seen him running that webcam. So he's racing from his bedroom, I'm going to say, judging by the wardrobe in the background. His teammate, Martin Turner, also running a webcam out there for us today with his beautiful hippie pants.
Yeah, the hippie pants obviously adding a little bit of speed for Martin Turner. As you can see, they're very, very brightly coloured, so you definitely know it is Martin Turner at the wheel there. But yeah, nevertheless, obviously both Chicken Up Racing cars have had not too bad runs in the series over the course of the few seasons. Obviously had a few bad results and didn't have the best one in the last round, but nevertheless, they're still charging on as best as they can, as Martin Turner runs a little bit wide there through the bus stop, but just manages to get the power down just enough. And that's going to be another thing, is really timing the point at which you get on the throttle, because of the way these corners are, and obviously being a lot more high speed than you normally would have with the infield. So it's really going to be all about patience.
It certainly is going to be a very interesting and tactical race tonight, because I don't think the leader is going to get a gap at all unless something happens behind him in the other sections of the track. Martin Turner that time by an off-track as suspected through the bus stop, so he will begin his final lap, looking for his second timed attempt. Jackson Susan Harlow got a lap in on attempt number 2, and he's gone to the top with a 1:56.361. That's half a tenth quicker than Riley Preston, who improved on his second attempt. Brett Canesi sits back there in 3rd. What about Mia Ott up there in 5th? Very good job from her, and Lee Vandenberg in 6th. Those two doing very well here so far.
Yeah, certainly. A few surprising names up the order at the moment. Like you said, Mia Ott, Lee Vandenberg and Grace Howell and a few others really putting their stake to the claim at the moment. It's really mixed this field up a lot. Obviously, a few drivers down the order at the moment who are yet to sort of set representative lap times, but it's really quite a mixed up field at the moment.
Here comes Susan Harlow into the bus stop, all the way on the right-hand side of the track, dives it into the corner, trying to take as much as a track as possible, not getting an off-track. The exit there is where you're most likely to see drivers pick up an off-track to invalidate their time here in qualifying. I think he just about got away with it that time by under the lights as they flash by over the top of his race car, illuminating the circuit and the path for him. The headlights still coming in quite handy through the infield section of this track. He's going to come across the line in a second, right here through the tri-oval, giving it above the double yellow line to keep it legal, and it's a 56.324. Finds an improvement of just a couple hundredths of a second. Is it going to be enough? It's not. Riley Preston eclipses him by 6 thousandths of a second for the Panther Racefuels Evolution Racing Team car. Brett Cananzi will stay in 3rd.
Yeah, very, very good time there by Preston to end up jumping Jackson Susan Harlow, and not by a heck of a lot either. That's not even a hundredth of a second. We're talking thousandths, so it's incredibly close qualifying around here, and it's just showing how close the series really is.
Amplified by such a long lap as well. We normally see those margins on the shorter circuits somewhere like Lime Rock Park, which we go to next week, or Summit Point is where you expect to see those sorts of gaps. But, well, a 2-minute lap time is very, very close between them. And maybe Preston's finally found that little bit to try and eclipse him. In the race, who knows, because it's where Harlow's been strong, is in the racing. Pat Gallo is a new face to the series, currently in 18th place at the moment. What can he do in his final attempt? If he finds 10th of a second, he'll move up 4 spots on the grid. It's very tight in the midfield as well. It's not a good lap, so 58.3. So he will stay in the back half of the top 20. Just 30 seconds remaining in this session. I think by this point, almost everyone has completed their attempts. Mia Ott is going to come across the line, so is John D. Miller. For Miller, what time is it going to be? It's a 58.006. He will stay 12th. Mia Ott found an improvement of just a little bit to go up into 7th ahead of Turner. Reese Gardner, a 56.563. Good lap, up into 4th place right at the end of the session.
Yeah, great lap by Reese, and really has shown some very, very good pace this season, being pretty much up in that top 10, top 5 region. So see how he goes in this race, and he's really in with a good shot of winning here, but nevertheless, start to go through the grid.
So, the front row, Riley Preston, Jackson, Susan Harlow, Cananzi and Gardner off row 2, Jarek and Lee Vandenberg. A fantastic debut for him off of 6. Mia Ott and Martin Turner off row 4, top 10, rounded up by Dylan DeBono and Michael Yip.
Row number 6, Reese Howell and John Miller, followed by Kobe Williams and John Halloran on row 7. Row 8, Mario Vartanian and Ashley Norman, Will Newell and Pat Gallo on row 9. And rounding out the top 20 on row 10, Joshua Cavallo and Simon Zomo.
Stephen Grammer, Benjamin Dahlia just behind them, Sebastian Murray Westberg, Scott Hasler, another debutant from 24th, Hamish Cleveland and Grant Matterford on row 13, Pariana Stikis and Ira Fellberg on row 14. Field rounded up by Jake Sperry and Ole Fontana, a 30-car field lining up on the tri-oval for a standing start. This is going to be a very tricky launch on these drivers because the tri-oval is banked. It's banked about as much as quite a lot of the corners on quite a lot of the ovals that NASCAR visits, so it's definitely not flat by any stretch of the imagination, and that could make this a very tricky getaway for some of those drivers. Track temp, understandably very cool. A 21-degree temperature in the track, 19-degree air temp under the lights. It is 9:30 in sim time, so these drivers have a lot of grip at their disposal. The lights will help to shed some light then on the starting grid. You can see some of the guys at the back maybe have it a little bit easier because it's a little bit flatter for them, but these guys at the front, look at the angle they're sitting at there as they await the red lights to come on in just under 10 seconds time. It's Evolution Racing Team versus Alta Sea Sports, first and second, Eclipse and Fusion behind them. Who gets to launch then as a countdown winds down? We'll get those 5 red lights up in front of the drivers. The revs will rise. And from Daytona, we go racing. And look at the slide off the start for all of them as they get going. And Harlow immediately has to go down low to try to cover off Cananzi. Down into turn 1 then. Harlow throws it in, 2 tyres on the grass, gets to the inside and gets into Preston. He slides out wide. Gardner goes around as well, getting into the back of him. And Gardner, the one that gets caught out of all of that. But Preston's going to lose over a dozen spots as well. He's still going backwards. But now Cananzi looking the long way around on Harlow.
Yeah, he certainly is. What an absolute crazy start. But Cananzi really applying the pressure to Harlow here. But bearing in mind this is going to be a long waiting game. You're not going to want to do anything silly here. You're just going to want to work with the driver ahead of you and just try and pull away as they nearly make contact with each other there. And this is going to allow now Ryan Jerk to look up the inside.
I wonder, will race controller looking at that, I think, down at turn 1. I wonder whether Harlow may get a penalty. If he does, it's going to put a big question mark in this race and finally, for the first time this season, open it up to someone else. But right now, Harlow's in the prime spot to make it 5 from 5. But here we go. Here's the slipstream effects we've been talking about. On board with Cananzi through NASCAR 1 and 2. He closes right up to the bumper, pulls to the outside, into the bus stop. This is not a corner where you want to go door to door. Someone you will think would have to blink as Jarrett closes in behind them as well. Neither of them blink. Kananzi gives them the space on the entry, and Harlow pulls back out to a pretty handy margin. Oh no, Turner!
Yeah, Turner's had a moment there. I'm not quite sure what's happened there. Just looked like he went in too deep and then is unfortunately had contact.
And now the issue that Kananzi faced there, because he checked up on entry and his line was compromised, he was very slow on the exit. And Ott did a very good thing by pushing him along 2 cars much quicker than 1. And so the gap to Harlow's been shut down again because Jarrett just propped up on the outside there trying to find a route through. He sweeps around the outside. It's a good move if you can pull it up. And it looks like he might be able to get it done. And Ott, no, very good exit for the number 9 car. Ott will slot into 3rd. A very good opening lap for her, up 4 spots. Michael Giff has come up 5 spots from 10th to 5th. And look at him now, trying to make it 4th.
Yeah, certainly, but I'm going to try hold it around the outside. We're not going to be able to get it done, unfortunately. We'll slot in behind his Eclipse teammate of it, Ryan Jarrett, who's dropped off the back of Mia Ott a little bit. Mia Ott's dropped off the back of the likes of Kananzi and Harlow as well, as more games get sent into the air. But this top 5 has really broken away from the rest of the pack, which is led by Dylan De Bono and then Mario Vartanian, and the rest of them. It's a massive train behind them for the rest of the field.
These guys start battling through the infield section, they'll catch them as well. It won't take much here for Harlow to lose the lead of the race, because Kananzi's right back up there. He almost had a look heading in to the corner that precedes this long flat out section of the track. He opted not to make it, and now he pulls out again, and just like lap number 1, they'll be door to door down to the bus stop. It'll be Mia Ott behind them this time instead of Jarrett, but look at Jarrett. He's trying to find a way by it to go up the inside here, 2 by 2 at the bus stop. Jarrett up the inside of Ott, takes P3 away, and Ott will go to the back of this train. Will have the most speed when they enter turn 1 though, as a result of that triple toe in front.
Yeah, certainly. Well, it will be a massive draft having a number of cars in front of you, but probably the car in favour of possibly having the best chances, Yip and Ott at the moment. Obviously, having 3 to 4 cars in front of them is going to really allow them to slipstream past multiple cars as well. But Kananzi's going to look to the outside. No, he's not. He's going to slot back in behind Harlow. And Michael Yip trying to go around the outside. Seems to just have a little bit of overspeed, but not quite enough to make any moves.
Yeah, Ott going to fight that one at the inside, being squeezed. Not much room being given, but just enough being shown as behind them. Look at the action down into turn 1. These guys all sorts of wadded up for 6th on the racetrack. And that is Dylan De Bono trying desperately to get himself back ahead of Kobe Williams. As contact behind, and around goes the Eclipse car as well. Collects someone else, and that's a big incident and a big chance coming out of the turn number 3. And it was Mazoma that got involved as Williams spun again. We'll have to take a look at the replay to fully dissect that. That went on for quite a while, that little crash.
Yeah, it certainly did. There was just cars going everywhere, and unfortunately a few cars playing victim to being innocent bystanders, Simon Mazoma being one of those, just having nowhere to go, unfortunately. So number of damaged cars in there, and it just looked like a very minor touch between the cars of Mario Vartanian and also Kobe Williams. Vartanian trying to move it up the inside, just couldn't quite get it done, and unfortunately that was it.
Dangers of racing in such close packs then, shown incredibly accurately down there at turn number 1. Speaking of close packs, the top 5 still through the bus stop, separated by, what's the gap there? 1.3 seconds, with Yip and Ott just falling a little ways off the back. But look here, this is as close as Harlow's been, and coming into NASCAR 3 and 4 to losing the lead of the race. Here comes Jarrett to the outside of his teammate. He could have pushed Kananzi and pushed him by, but instead he goes off on his lonesome to the outside. Let's see, where does Harlow defend this one? Because Kananzi's got good speed behind him. Jarrett's pulled all the way up alongside. They're almost line astern across the line, but it's still Harlow who just manages to hold on to lead that lap. Jarrett there just learnt very well how far back you need to be to make it work at the line. Half a car length closer coming out of the bus stop, and he would have led that lap. Interesting to note for the final lap.
Yes, certainly. It's one of those things that you really don't know until you've actually tried it. And this is one of the things when you're in this sort of pack and you know what everybody else is trying to do, as well as you can use that ability to try and work out how far back you actually need to be. We've seen in previous races, and like you saw last week in Racing Locals, Scotty McLaughlin obviously trying, as well as Shane Van Gisbergen, all trying in the radical round here to try and work out how far back they needed to be to win the race. And as we saw there, Ryan Jerk showing a perfect example of, okay, I'm not quite close enough, but I know that I need to be this far back. So we'll see what happens in the final lap, and who knows what might happen. We might see Kananzi go from 3rd to 1st. We might see Mia Ott go from 5th to 1st. Who knows?
Well, you referenced that event, Cameron, and I'm sure you know about the finish, where McLaughlin and Van Gisbergen finished separated by 0.000 seconds at the line, and Lawson 8,000ths behind in 3rd. Forget something like that, well then, it's going to be one heck of a finish, isn't it? And I wouldn't put it past them, because they are extremely close on the track, as again, looking to the outside of the bus stop, Jarek just trying to get some air into the front end of his car, into the engine, to help cool it down, and it costs him on the exit as we look from the rear bumper. As Kananzi pulls to his outside, Kananzi be better served pushing Jarek along here to help him get a bit closer to Harlow as he doesn't tuck back in line. Harlow, there's not much he can do to break this shaft though, because they're going to close right back up to him and there's nothing he can do about it.
Yes, certainly. They're about 5 kilometers an hour quicker in terminal velocity compared to Harlow, so they've really got a little bit of an advantage here, but just not quite close enough that last time by. Not quite sure what Jarek was trying to do there, whether he was trying to hold up Harlow or not, but really, really weird sort of tactics going on and all sorts, really trying to unfold this race.
Oh, behind them for 6th place. There were 3 wide on the entry to turn number 1. Jabon on the Will Newell on the inside. Riley Preston and Dylan DeBoto on the extreme inside, I should say. I had it right the first time. As I came into the corner, they all sorted themselves out, and DeBono emerges out front ahead of Preston and Will Newell just in behind them. And then there's a big train of cars that make up the rest of the field, just off the back of those guys. There'll be 2 laps to go here. They cross the line with a few seconds to spare of making it a white flag lap. So they've still got another trip around the track when they get to the line.
Yeah, and you can just see how close the car of Ryan Jerk is now to the back end of Jackson Susan Harlow. Those 2 have actually pulled away a little bit from the rest of those 3 behind them, and not quite sure what's happened there, and possibly something's happened on the infield, but that's really made that quite the gap. But back to the likes of Kananzi and Yip and that. So we'll see what happens in this final lap, and Mia Ott going to try and push Kananzi to try and hurry him up, but not quite going to do it. And Jerk's actually trying to make him move up the inside. Nearly contact.
How close was that? There was about a paper's width between the quarter panels of those cars, inches from disaster through the bus stop. Jarek almost had enough of an overlap to make that one sick. Harlow's going to have to be completely alert and ready to defend for his life. As they come to the start-finish straight through the tri-oval, they'll see the white flag. 1 more lap around at Daytona International Speedway for race 1, round 3 of the Australian Turbo Touring Car iRacing Series. And here comes Jarek to the outside in the very long turn number 1. Can he keep the car there? He doesn't. He makes a mistake, and that allows Kananzi to get by him. So the Eclipse cars switch around in 2nd place. And Mia Ott back there in 4th, hoping that an opportunity arises itself. Now it's going to be Kananzi in the box seat to try and slingshot by Harlow down at turn 1. As further back, a few drivers have to take to pit lane.
Yeah, very, very odd to see a few cars in pit lane at this point. Not quite sure what's happened there with possible tyre issues or maybe incidents. Not entirely sure, but yeah, currently Martin Turner way back there in 23rd, but it's battle for the top 4 really starting to heat up. Kananzi running a little bit wide there out of the 2nd horseshoe, but nevertheless still relatively close, and you can see Mia all over the back end of Ryan Jerk as well, so you can't discount any of these 4 to possibly win this.
This is better than being tucked right up on the bumper, because this actually gives Kananzi a run as opposed to already being stuck right up behind him. So this might work out perfectly. He probably want Jarek to give him a helping hand. And a bit of a bump draft though, so let's see how this pans out. The bus stop needs to be pinpoint perfect for these chasing trio to catch Harlow through NASCAR 3 and 4. Here we go for the final time on the brakes on this track for the first race. out of the bus stop. Harlow's going to be in trouble here. Oh, Jarek and Cananzi lined up behind him. Just Jarek opt to push his teammate to give an Eclipse win to his team. He looks to the outside. That might be a mistake. It might give Harlow just enough breathing room out at the front of the field. And I'll tell you what, as he tries to shake the draft, it might just be enough for Harlow. The Eclipse cars are side by side to the start-finish line. Jackson Susan Harlow goes 5 from 5. Cananzi second, Jarek third. Oh, just behind him. You've got to wonder, Cam. You do feel that potentially the teammates could have worked a lot better there.
Yeah, they certainly could have. And still battles across the line, and Hamish Cleland will just get Scott Hasler across the line, and a couple of others are still running to the line. But yeah, you have to wonder if that possible teamwork could have worked for the Eclipse Sim Sports drivers. But nevertheless, fantastic race up front, and just all about making the draft work.
Indeed, that was a fantastic race. Can't wait to do it. Doubly is exciting for race 2 coming up in just a few minutes' time. Don't go anywhere here on Simspeed TV. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, race 2 from Daytona. Welcome back to Daytona. Trying to make sense of what happened there on that final lap and why no teamwork was executed. But in the end, Harlow counting his lucky stars, I'm sure, because he goes 5 from 5 to start Season 3. Cananzi, in the end, 800ths of a second short, ahead of his teammate in third. Mia Ott, Michael Yep rounded out the top 5. Dylan Tabono, Riley Preston, 6th and 7th. Will Newell coming across in 8th, ahead of John D. Miller and Hamish Cleland.
Then we go across the page. Scott Hasler coming across in 11th. 12th to Joshua Cavallaro, John Halloran, Ashley Norman, and Pat Gallo rounding out the top 15. Grant Matterford, Simon Mazzomo, Kobe Williams, Ira Felberg, and Reese Gardner rounding out the top 20. Unfortunately, none of those drivers having incidents in the race, but nevertheless, Reese 2 is up.
It is. You can see the rest of the drivers there that finished lower down on the field, came unstuck in that big crash off turn 3 in the first half of that race. But looking forward to race 2 now. It's undoubtable. Is that a word? The slipstream makes you a lot quicker out there on the track. So coming into pit lane, if you're in a team, doing it with your teammate could be very beneficial.
Yes, certainly. I mean, we kind of got confused by why the Eclipse cars didn't work together, but this is really going to be all about teamwork in this race, especially with the pit stops coming into play, because you're not going to want to lose draft at all, especially if you stop slightly slower. So if you can work together with your teammates to try and time your stops around the same time and sort of do what the likes of Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon used to do at Daytona back in the day, where they used to put at the same time and work together in the draft, it might actually just pay you off.
Indeed it shall. So looking forward to race 2 here as we await qualifying to begin and the famous sights and sounds of Daytona display across the background. The big Ferris wheel in the middle of the racetrack into the infield section, as well as the lake just behind it, invisible under the dark glow of the night sky. Even what is that called to the left? What is that ride called? Big spinny thingy?
Ferris wheel, isn't it?
The one to the left, not the actual Ferris wheel.
Oh, that one. I can't actually remember the name, but it does have a name.
Spinny thingy. I'm going to call it a spinny thingy from now on. The famous Daytona spinny thingy. Yeah, I mean, so in terms of the Eclipse lack of teamwork, only thing you can assume is potentially they did a bit of testing and found out that bump drafting is not that good. It can result in a car in the fence, so to speak. If you hook up wrong, it's very easy to hook someone at the fence, but they're not going that fast. They're doing 250 kilometers an hour. It should be relatively easy to line up the bumpers. On the out touring cars, they are made for a bit of contact, but yeah, it's a strange one. I'm sure if we talk to either of them after race 2 here, we'll get a good explanation for it. Until then, I guess we'll keep brainstorming. And of course, don't forget, at the end of Season 4, a prize up for grabs, thanks to the good folks over at Simfinity Camp.
Yeah, certainly fantastic prize on the line for the drivers from Simfinity, and yep, you just can't not put yourself in the draw to it, because it's such an awesome prize at the end of the day. So to end up winning the prize that you're going to get, just go ahead and get in the series, and yeah.
So, under the lights at Daytona, sorry. I got sidetracked then. Under the lights at Daytona, first time we've got night racing in this series, Cameron. Provides a whole other atmosphere out there, doesn't it? The cars look fantastic with the light shining down on them. The track is so well illuminated too that it looks really good on the broadcast, but the track itself is completely different to drive as opposed to the middle of the day.
Yes, certainly. It adds a whole new dynamic to obviously racing under lights, and really does make it that much cooler, because you're not having to worry about sun glare or anything. It's more just focus on what you're doing and let the lights shine the way, sort of thing. So yeah, it's one of those cool things in racing, is racing under lights. You don't obviously get to do it too often, but when you do, it's really, really such a spectacle and really cool.
So, qualifying session number 2 underway. 10 minutes on the clock, 3 minutes. 3 laps, the maximum amount of laps the drivers can do. Should get quicker and quicker the more they do, because of the new tyre model and the cold tyres being so slow and slippery for the drivers out there. And they warm up over the course of your efforts. Lap 2 generally has been the quickest lap actually for some of the drivers out there, and struggling to find an improvement or tyre longevity for lap number 3. We'll see how that pans out. Watching Ira Felberg as he heads out onto his outlap at the moment, trying to get those tyres up to temp, and his Simfinity sponsored White 11 esports machine.
Yeah, it is one of those things about night racing as well, is obviously the track's going to be a lot cooler, so tyre temp's more or less going to take its time to sort of come into effect. Obviously, you're going to be having slightly less need to try and warm your tyres up so aggressively with the fact that you've got the high banking of the oval coming into play, so your tyres going to get a bit of heat into them reasonably quickly, but nevertheless, it's one of those things around here where you've kind of got to try and have that balance between not overdriving the tire but also getting enough heat into it. So yeah, it's gonna be quite interesting to see whether anybody actually does go quicker on their third lap or their second lap. But saw a few obviously going quicker on their third lap, but some also going quicker on their second, so it's really a little bit of a balancing act there.
Certainly is. Reese Howell did very good in qualifying in race 1, was up inside the top 10. I think he got caught up in that incident, didn't he? Got turned around up at turn 3, which dropped him down the order, and in the end finished pretty poorly as a result of that. But if he can back it up here in race 2, he might be able to have a bit of luck on his side at this time and have a good race as he begins his first attempt. Let's ride on board with him, Cameron, and let's take it to a round of this Daytona road course.
Yeah, certainly coming into turn 1, very committed, runs a little bit deep there, but manages to just pull it up in time through the S's with the pit exit on the left. That's going to be one thing that's important, is making sure that you don't turn in front of someone who's coming out of pit lane as the racing line is on the pit exit, coming through the international horseshoe, nice and on the apex, running right out to the exit curb for heading it down towards the kink in the other end of the infield. Very, very quick section through the kink, trying to keep it flat out if you can, on the brake pedal to try and pull it up for the second horseshoe in the infield. Nice double apex as well there from Reese Howell. Runs a little bit wide, but manages to just keep it on the track there before coming onto what would be rejoining onto the oval out of the infield, and now onto the oval into NASCAR 1 or Oval 1, whichever you wish to call it. Very, very high banked, and just pretty much keeping your foot on it and just trying to be as smooth as you possibly can. Obviously, there's not a lot to do in around an oval, but just trying to get your line as good as you possibly can and trying to be as smooth as you possibly can to try and keep it just above that yellow line is going to be crucial to helping your lap time before heading into the bus stop, braking as late as you can into the bus stop to set yourself up for a very nice exit to come back on to the oval and head into oval 3 and 4 again. Same thing as oval 1 and 2, trying to be as smooth as you possibly can and hug that yellow line as much as you possibly can without touching it. And as you can see, very, very solid lap here from Reese coming out of oval 4 down towards the front straight on the tri-oval, really flat out in 6th gear, nearly on the limiter, not quite on the limit just yet, and onto the limiter now. So that is a lap.
I love that segment. Pass over for Cam for a lap, sit back, have a sip of my drink, and just see what sort of words he can produce through the flat-out sections of the track. Because I was thinking, Cam, what do you talk about through the oval section there in terms of what you do? Because you don't do much, do you? It's pretty simple, but a good lap with the track, thanks to our resident semi-decent driver, Cameron Dance. Better than me, at least.
I was about to say I've won a few oval races in my time, but anyway, yeah, it's one of those things that you don't do much when you just constantly turning left, as you well know, being a NASCAR expert. But nevertheless, it's just one of those things that it's those minute things of just keeping it smooth and hugging that line as much as you possibly can that makes all the difference.
Something I did pick up on during that lap, looking in the rearview mirror of that car, was the clear visor that they run. Of course, it has zero effect in terms of iRacing, whether you have a clear or a dark visor. You can't change it in your options, but just another one of those realistic features that iRacing adds in. Of course, in real life, if you're running at night time, you have a clear visor, so you can actually see where you're going. And you can see the faces of the drivers, which, to be frank, in iRacing is a little bit terrifying, because they look kind of lifeless, to be honest with you, but still, good little feature. Just under 5 minutes left. Riley Preston on top. The gap at the top is 0.000 of a second.
That is very close. There's no differential between the two times. Not even JRT's giving me a gap because it's literally that close. So you have to go to the 4th decimal place, if not the 5th, in terms of how close it is up the top. And there's absolutely nothing in it between those two either.
Preston fires again on his next attempt to a 56.376. And Harlow goes to a 56.378. Oh, it was so close to being a 2,000th of a second margin to a 0-second margin again, but it's 2,000ths of a second between them. This time, they remain locked in a battle then. Mia Ott up in 3rd place. She gets better and better as the night goes on, it seems. Scott Hasler having his first ever run in the series tonight. Has yet to set a time in the session so far. He is on lap number 1, so he's just started his first attempt actually. He won't get all 3 laps in, unfortunately, as a result of that.
Yeah, obviously, being nearly a 2-minute lap in qualifying trim or race trim as well, it's quite a long lap, so not going to get 3 laps in on with 3 minutes to go, but we'll at least get 2 laps in. We'll see what he can do for lap time. Did get 11th place in the first race as well, so not a bad debut, but nevertheless, John Miller doing a bit of apex hunting there by the looks of it, and running a little bit wide through the first international horseshoe.
Up inside the top 10 though, so having a pretty decent session so far. Can't complain with that. Impressed again by lead Vandenberg up in 6th place. Continuing what is a very strong debut for him as the final laps for the drivers start to roll in out there. Riley Preston, flat out. Not much you can do now about his lap. He's committed to whatever he's got set himself up for out of the bus stop. As he comes out of 4 and towards the tri-oval, what can he do? Can he improve on the 56.376? Even a couple thousandths may be enough with how close it is at the top. He comes across the line. It's a 56.241, so he finds an improvement. Jackson Susan Harlow's aborted his lap. He's down in pit lane. So Preston looking like he might be in position to get pole position. What can Mia Ott do? Currently 3rd as she comes across the stripe. She goes a 56.8, so she will stay 3rd. In fact, back to 4th as Ryan Jarrett props up to the outside of the front row. And what can he do?
Yeah, very, very solid lap there by Ryan Jarrett to put himself up into P2, but Jake Sperry at the moment on screen, very, very concentrated on the pad and coming in to the tri-oval now. We'll see what Sperry can do and put himself in times of 58.9, puts himself to P26.
Smile, Sperry. You're not last. You need a smile. At the moment, last place is Pat Gallo because he hasn't set a lap time yet. He's on his first lap now. Don't think he's going to get a lap time in, unfortunately, so he'll be starting off the back. Might be a good thing for him. He might be able to avoid some of the drama that might unfold down there at turn number 1. Sebastian Murray Westberg will just get his lap in. Unfortunately, it'll be his 4th lap, so this lap won't count. He's used up all of his qualifying quota. And I believe all of our front runners have too. Parry Anastakis, what about him? Has he used up all of his laps so far? Currently 25th. This is his final lap. 30 seconds to get to the line. It looks like it might be a lap that has incurred a spin because he's getting close to the 156 already.
Yeah, possibly not going to be a lap time that counts this time by for Anastakis, but we'll see what happens when he crosses the line on his final flying lap. Comes across the line, 58.650, so does actually does go quicker by a little bit.
I misjudged how long it took to get from the exit of Oval 4 to the start to finish line. Turns out it's about 10 seconds. I thought it was about 15 or so. So there you go. Now you know. Let's take a look at the starting grid. Get ready for showtime here at Daytona. Riley Preston and Ryan Jarrett off the front row. Jackson Susan Harlow, Mia Ott behind. Brett Canazzi, Lee Vandenberg, 5th and 6th. Martin Turner, John D. Miller, Will Neal, Michael Yip, your top 10.
Row number 6 is Dylan Tabano and Ashley Norman. Reese Howell and Mario Vartanian in row 7. Row 8, Reese Gardner and John Halloran. Not the best qualifying there for Reese in second race, but nevertheless, we'll see what happens for him in race 2. Grant Matterford and Kobe Williams on row 9. And rounding out the top 20 on row 10, Hamish Galind and Simon Mazzomo.
Joshua Cavallaro and Benjamin Dahlia will share the 11th row ahead of Sebastian Murray Westberg. And Scott Hazler, Stephen Grimer, and Pariana Stakis on row 13. Jake Sperry, Ira Fellerberg, Ole Fontana, Pat Gallo around out your 30 car field. And once again, going to be a very tricky launch for these drivers. We saw in race 1 the cars take a hard left as soon as I got on the throttle because of the banking. Track temp again, nice cool, 21 degrees. Estimated race distance of 11 laps ahead of us. Remember, everyone has got to make a pit stop at some point in this race for a minimum of 2 tyres. They won't be taking any fuel because the cars will be fueled to the end. They won't be taking more than 2 tyres because it will cost you valuable seconds. Over 10 seconds it'll cost you, and you won't be able to get that back in just a short 20-minute sprint race. 25 seconds left on the clock, and Jackson Susan Harlow, for the first time in what seems like a long time, will not be on the front row. He will start from 3rd. Ryan Jarek and Riley Preston have locked out the front row. Mia Ott up there in 4th, having a fantastic night in terms of boosting her season standings. Let's see then how we go down at turn number 1. Can we keep it clean? Who will win the battle for race 2 to finish off round 3 of season 3 as the green flag flies and we go racing? An even start from your top 2. Harlow got the best launch of them all from 3rd, but he's got nowhere to go, so he darts to the outside of the racetrack and lines himself up behind Jarek. He'll be trying not to spin Preston around again like he did in race number 1. Looks like the top does it. Looks like the whole field's going to get through there nice and clean.
Yeah, everyone's made it through turn 1 very nicely with no issues, but the car's off.
Hal goes for a wild ride out to the grass as he rejoins poor old Miss Homo. Luckily didn't get turned around, but that was a sketchy rejoin there as Harlow's found his way back up into 3rd ahead of Brett Cananzi and behind Jarek and Preston.
Yeah, you can see everybody trying to sort themselves out just behind a few others. Dylan DeBono or making a bit of contact with Michael Yip. And Reese Gardner's actually had a very solid start as well, getting up into now what is the top 10. So very nice start for him and a bit of contact as well, Reese, giving that front bumper a bit of a workout. But nevertheless, everybody seems to have made the start pretty cleanly in race 2.
Have indeed, and this means that the whole field is under each other's toe right now, down through 1 and 2 of the NASCAR track. Jarek doesn't pull out to try and get by Riley Preston, but Harlow, with a monster of a run from 3rd, pulls to the inside, backs out of it, forced Jarek a little bit deep. He almost gave a big shot to the back of Preston at the bus stop, checks himself up, unfortunately, and cost himself big time on the exit. Someone went around in the background on the entry of the bus stop. That was Gardner?
Don't think it was Reese.
Doesn't look like his car. Unless he's Benjamin Dahlia, there you go. But hey, look at the front, they're 2x2.
They were 3 wide at one point.
Harlow pokes his nose out front, but Jarek trying to fend him off down at the inside for position 2. Almost back of Preston. They all make a bit of contact, and Harlow almost gets turned around by Brett Cananzi, and there he goes! Both of them in the fence, back out, and collects John D. Miller and Lee Vandenberg as well. Big contact through the S's on the exit of turn 1, and your season leader 5 from 5. It's not going to be 6 from 6. Cananzi was glued to that back bumper, and eventually into the fence they went, and a huge shunt. Oh! Collected again.
Yeah, that was not the most pleasant thing in the world. We'll grab a replay of that because that was an unbelievably large shunt there for Jackson Susan Harlan. That's going to absolutely damage his championship. You can see getting basically bump drafted by Brett Cananzi and just unfortunately got stuck together, I guess, and pretty much that was it. Just all over Red Rover, unfortunately, for those two. And this is really going to hurt Harlow's championship because there was only 8 points in it between himself and Preston. If Preston wins this is going to be pretty much all or nothing for Harlow in these last 3 rounds.
Let's get a replay from on board with John D. Miller if he can, because he would have had one heck of a fright down there at the exit of turn 1 as they spun in front of him. So, yeah, well, the way the championship point system works is 50 points for a win, none for... It goes down, you know, they're on down the order because the maximum of 50 cars to a field. So, it picks up only 10 points. It's a massive disadvantage with such a short championship. So, despite going 5 from 5, he now is in a world of hurt after that monumental shunt down there. At basically pit exit. That leaves Riley Preston leading from Jarek and Mia Ott in third. A big gap back to 4th place Martin Turner after all of that.
Yeah, that's really shaken up this top 3, and Mia Ott with the chance of top 3. This is going to be really, really good for her. Going to be the best result in the series so far. But yeah, Preston's really going to be relishing at this result to score back a lot of points on Jackson Susan Harlow, who is actually still managing to go somehow, despite being airborne at one point. He's all the way down in 22nd at the moment, so he's still out there getting points, but it's going to be a lot of lost points there.
Certainly is. Let's see how it pans out for him, though, as the race continues. None of our front runners have come into pit lane. Don't believe anyone's pitted other than for damage after lap 1. The guys that did, though, pit for damage won't have to pit again in this race. They will have lost valuable time with the damage, though, limping it back to pits or towing back to pit lane. Preston up under some fire here from Ryan Jarek. Oh, lost out a bit through the infield section. Should close back up out here on the oval. Unless Preston and Jarek opt to work together here, they could pull a margin on the rest of the field if they do. They've already got 1.2 seconds back to Turner in 4th, 3.5 back to Gardner, 6 seconds back to 6th place. So already a bit of a spread after that big crash. And Ott closes right up to them. 15 minutes left. Plenty of time for moves to be made.
Yes, certainly. And Jarek's going to now go to the outside of Riley Preston as they head through Oval 3 and 4. Mia Ott closing in the draft as well, just behind. So we'll see whether they go 3 wide or not. Mia's probably just going to sit in behind nicely and just be nice and patient here. We'll possibly see if anybody actually pits early. No, they don't. They stay out for another lap. So probably going to see these drivers all try and work together and stay out as late as they possibly can. But nevertheless, Ryan Jarek still trying to make that outside line work. Mia Ott looking there as well, but not going to get it done.
A bit wide from Jarek, but it'll be fast enough to hold him off. Turner closes up to the back of these guys then through that battle, and he makes the 4-car scrap out at the front. John Halloran and Sebastian Westberg both down in pit lane, the 2 teammates, to get 2 fresh tyres on their car. A move back for 8th place. Ashley Norman under fire from Kobe Williams. Behind, Will Newell and Michael Yip getting into a bit of contact through turn 3 as well. Should we have a look at that battle if we can, because there it is. You can see how many cars are all tucked up under each other's wings as they make their way to the oval section of the track. This could get very dicey in a second.
Yeah, it certainly could. And Kobe Williams actually had a bit of contact at turn 1 just before with either Dylan DeBono or Mario Vartanian. Not quite sure which one it was, but it was one of those front 2 in this little battle pack. And you can see Ashley Norman trying everything he possibly can at the moment. And just behind car of Will Newell and Michael Yip going side by side as well as they head on to over 1 and 2. And also Simon Mazzomo not too far behind here as well, currently sitting in P12. So not too bad of a run for him, considering he started in P20.
Yeah, he's picked up a few spots, done pretty well so far. We've not got any retirements. Everyone's managed to get the cars back out there on the racetrack, as here comes Williams trying to have a look at the inside at the bus stop on Ashley Norman. No room through there that time by at least, as they all sneak their way out of the bus stop, looking for as strong of exit as they can get back out onto the NASCAR section of the track. Back up at the front though, it's all line of turn once again with Preston under fire from Jarek and Ott and Turner. I wonder if these 4 will talk to each other maybe and coordinate their pit stop, because none of these guys are teammates. Be acutely aware that if they don't pit together, they could lose out to someone further back who pits.
Oh no, crashed at pit entry.
Oh, Norman and
teammates have come together as well. Kobe Williams has ended up being hit by Michael Yip, and there's about 3 cars who are going to get penalties for unsafe pit entries as well.
Modem simulation replay will tell us the tale of what happened. Very hard to come into pit lane at Daytona, coming down from max speed. Jump on the brakes, try not to pinch it up, get it slowed down. Michael Yip did not get it slowed down at all. Collected Kobe Williams. Ashley Norman saw him and tried to get out of the way, unfortunately couldn't, and got hit off the outside of pit entry, so he'll get an off-safe entrance. Here's the old board from Yip, just completely misjudged it. It's like he didn't practice it.
Yeah,
fact,
just
Norman,
really.
Norman was struggling to get it pulled up himself. I don't think he'd seen it. He was just struggling to get it pulled up. So, yeah. The dangers of pit road at Daytona, they don't just strike at NASCAR, they strike with every other car too.
Yeah, they certainly do. And obviously being such a high-speed pit entry as well, it's really, really hard to gauge as there's no reference points as to where you need to brake or how much you need to brake either. But Mia Ott going up the inside of Ryan Jerick, but going to back out of it. So possibly a strategy for later in the race to see how to try and find a way to the front of the field on the last lap. But nevertheless, Mia Ott's still in a very good place to be in for a win here.
Going to come down to who times it best when we get back to the main straight, the main straight-ish tri-oval. Here it's called at Daytona. Don't have a main straight as such. This is as close as you get. The run between 4 and the tri-oval. As to the outside comes Jerick again as the cars bounce off the rev limiters as they come across the stripe to trigger themselves into lap number 6 of this one. 10 minutes left. Halfway through this race. This is where race 1 would have wrapped up. At the end of this lap, we still got double the length for race 2. That's a mistake from Preston. It pushed Jerick wide. And look at the run that Mia Ott's got from third to first down at turn 1. Mia Ott shoots to the front of the field. But now Preston fights back on the inside. Ott didn't defend it hard enough. Could have moved across and covered it off. But Preston will get the lead back.
Yeah, very, very good move there by Preston to get the lead back. But now Ott sitting in second place and really in the hunt for the win here. And Ryan Jerick trying to look left and right, but just going to sit in behind for the time being. Bearing in mind, there is only just under 10 minutes left, so they're going to have to make their pit stop sooner or later, or they're going to end up with possible penalties later on.
Martin Turner pitted from 4th place, by the way, behind our screens, who didn't quite catch. Interesting choice. Now, Preston Ott, Jerick, if they start battling, he's in a good spot. Look where he's rejoined. It's right behind Reese Gardner. Gardner was 5th. I believe he pitted on the same lap as Turner just then. Now, those two can work together, and if these three start battling, they're going to slow each other up. Turner and Gardner could come through them all here. This could get very interesting come the end of the pit stop phase, because Gardner and Turner may play a dark horse in this battle yet.
Yeah, certainly. They very, very much could have, and they both put it at the same time. So we'll see what happens when they come around this time by.
4 laps remaining when they come across the stride, maybe 5. Don't quote me on it. It's time to race, of course, on a laps counted race. So it all depends on when they cross the start-finish line. Mia Ott, no, yes, Mia Ott and Jerick. Preston, down on the pit road. They both left it very late to get it pulled up. And Preston and Ott down in pit lane, leave Jerick all out by himself. Vartanian and DeBono come down as well, so does Will Neal behind them. So Jerick might be in a very bad position after all this.
Yeah, it's very possible that he very much could be in a possibly bad position. Obviously, Ott and Preston are going to have the benefit of drafting each other through their outlap, but we'll see where Jerick ends up here. And remember that both also the cars of Reese Gardner and Martin Turner aren't too far away. They're just coming out of Oval 4 now, and we'll see what happens when the cars drop. Amir Ott and Riley Preston away now.
Harlow
nearly made it, but Harlow is back in this.
What? He's got damage to the car.
He hasn't pitted yet. That's actually a good point. He
hasn't pitted? I thought surely he would have pitted. He's that far back. Got his damage repaired, but he's not quite in the fight then. So he has to make his pit stop. And a big margin for Preston and Ott over Gardner and Turner. So a mistake from Turner on pit road is going to cost him quite a bit of time.
Yeah, certainly is going to cost quite a bit of time, but we'll see whether Jerick does pit this time. Boy, it'd be silly not to pit with Jerick. And Reese Gardner and Martin Turner not too far behind the effective race leaders as well. So if these two can work together, they might just be able to latch on and hopefully have a shot at a win. Reese Gardner's actually got past Martin Turner as well. So another position gain there for Reese.
So does Jarrett come down to pit lane this time by? He does. He takes a left turn, he jumps on the brake pedal, and he just about pulls it up before the line. He got that pinpoint accurate. This will leave Sperry and Anastakis out at the front of the field, yet to make their stop, and Ara Felberg as well will make up the top 3 for now. 6 drivers have yet to pull the trigger on pit lane. And I'll tell you what, Sperry won't lead this lap, Anastakis will.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, unfortunately, Sperry's not quite going to lead the lap that he wants to lead, unfortunately. So we have to sit behind for another lap and try and work this one out so he can try and lead a lap and say that he's at least got one under his belt at this round. But nevertheless, we'll see what happens and whether he does try stay out for a little bit longer, not too much longer left in this race. So he might end up running out of options. But Jarek's just left pit lane, and both Ott and also Preston have just managed to jump him by quite a bit.
They have. I mean, it's not that much of a margin, but it's margin enough that he... I tell you what, Jarek's probably done all right there. He should get the toe on the oval here and be able to keep up as long as he doesn't lose that much more time. And it might also pull Reese Gardner along.
Yeah, very much could pull Reese along, actually. He's in not too bad of a place is Reese at the moment, with Ryan not too far up the road, but Ryan might just be a little bit too far back to get the benefit of the drive from Mia Ott, but we'll see what happens over these next few laps. Just under 5 minutes to go, so not too many laps left. So we'll see whether Jarek's tyres do actually also help him as well with that 1 lap extra.
Bono and Vartanian battling away for 13th place at the moment. Bono has it at the moment, but Vartanian is going to have a great tow through the oval. As Cartel eyes back to the front as Ott closes in again on Preston at the bus stop. She's being very patient and smart about how she plays this race at the moment. Hasn't pulled the trigger on any rash moves and is just biding her time.
Yes, certainly. Done a fantastic job, has Mia, throughout this race, and also did a reasonably good job in the first race as well, to just be nice and patient and use the draft to be the best that it could be. But Ott going to look to possibly make a move here, or possibly not, going to possibly even try and bump draft Riley Preston as comes right up to the back bumper, and is going to start to push Preston across the line on the tri-oval, just slightly quicker than the cars behind, but nevertheless not quite going to make a move.
Look behind them, Ryan Jarrett pulled to the inside of Reese Gardner. Through one they go, side by side, a slide for Gardner on the outside of the racetrack, and that allows Ryan Jarrett up into the 3rd step on the podium. And these guys are about a 1.5 seconds off your race leader, Martin Turner, right there with them as well. 3 minutes to go, 2 laps remaining here at Daytona, and still that battle. Vartanian's got by to Bono. He was almost in the fence as we picked him up coming by the pit exit.
Yeah, it's one of those things actually about that pit exit. It's very easy to actually clip it if you're not careful in terms of trying to use as much of the road as possible. And being left-hand drive, you've kind of got a better sense of where the wall is, but you're always trying to get that little millimeter extra of road, and if you're not careful you can end up clipping that wall and tearing the left front wheel out of the car, unfortunately. But lucky for Vartanian, didn't quite do it. And as you can see, Sperry trying everything he can to try and get another position, and unfortunately did not lead a lap today, so he's going to be probably a little bit gutted with that, but he'll continue on his way.
Going to work ourselves out, should be just a few seconds short of an extra lap. So when they come across the line, they're going to see the white flag here. They'll run the clock down about halfway, 3/4 of the way through this lap. So this will be the last one when they come across the stripe, and it's going to be on. So Fontana and Cavallaro are side by side, but they're both going to have to come down to pit lane. They're going to be in a world of trouble here, and they both make it down to pit lane. So they make their stop, and that releases Preston and Ott to fight for the actual race lead then, with 1 lap to go here tonight at Daytona International Speedway under the lights of the road course. And this is going to be one hell of a scrap to the end. It's Preston versus Ott. Preston looking for every advantage he can get to break the shackles of Jackson Susan Harlow at the top of the standings and capitalise on his misfortune earlier on. Mia Ott just looking for something to hold on to here to turn around what's been almost fantastic start to the season for her, looking for her first ever win in the series.
Yes, certainly. It's going to all come down to what happens at the bus stop. Is Preston going to try and check Mia up, or is Mia going to be very, very patient and work the draft to the best that it possibly can? If they do actually check each other up, this might actually bring the three behind into it, and we could see a 5-car drag race to the line, but who knows what's going to happen. It's just going to be all about being patient for Mia and just trying to time the acceleration point to the moment so you can get the draft to the line and get ahead. But we'll see what happens. Preston doing everything he can at the moment to try and build a gap, but just not going to be able to do it at this point.
Ott overcooked it into the last corner by maybe just a little bit, which cost her a fraction. Heading out onto the oval section of the track, Preston already trying to defend the inside, cover off any potential big lunge from Ott into the bus stop. This needs to be crucial for both these drivers. They can't make a mistake. It's pinpoint accurate for both drivers then. As they come out of the bus stop, who's it going to be? It's Riley Preston, it's Evolution Racing Team against Mia Ott behind for Light Speed Esports. Here comes Ott with the momentum, with the slipstream. Where does she go? She goes to the inside, below the yellow line. They're door-to-door to the start-finish stripe. Mia Ott gets half the car length ahead, and on the inside of the racetrack, Mia Ott wins for the first time in the Australian Turbo Touring Car iRacing Series, and Riley Preston comes up short, but what a victory for Ott.
Unbelievable work of strategy and racecraft there by Ott to just get it the win in the end, and Reese Gardner on the podium as well, so fantastic result for him, and a really, really close finish as well for De Bono. Just missed out to Will Newell for the final spot inside the top 6, but yeah, what a race it was, and just unbelievable to see the strategy play.
Fireworks explode overhead, and we'll take a look at your race results then from a thrilling race 2 at Daytona. What an evening of racing it's been. The margin at the line was just half a tenth of a second between Mia Ott and Riley Preston. As you see the Ferris wheel and the spinny thing in the infield of the racetrack there. Just wait to get those results up on your screens for you. And a great result too for Gardner there to come home in 3rd place. And there it is. The margin of victory between Ott and Preston. Gardner running out the podium just ahead of Ryan Jarrett and Martin Turner. Will Newell, Dylan De Bono, Mario Vartanian, Ashley Norman, Simon Mazzomo running out the top 10.
Just outside the top 10, John Halloran and Reese Hell, followed by Stephen Grummer and Sebastian Murray Westberg. Jake Sperry surprisingly somehow got a top 15 out of that. Followed by Hamish Clint in 16th, 17th to Kobe Williams, Ole Fontana in 18th, 19th to Benjamin Dahlia, and rounding the top 20, Grant Matterford. Don't know how he did it, but Jackson Susan Harlow still managed to get top 21st.
You'll see the rest of the results scroll through on your screen. We're going to have a chat to our Race 2 winner for the first time in this series, our winner. And we spoke to you before the race, Mia, and I hope you don't mind me saying you were looking for a pick-me-up, so to speak, this evening for having a rough week. Well, how's that for you?
Well, after Lime Rock last week, after basically having 2 finishes outside the top 20, that was really what I needed in the championship. Like, I'm not fighting for a championship or anything, but yeah, that was amazing. That was just, God.
Talk us through your thought process heading on to that final lap. Did you have the plan in mind? Were you just trying to put yourself in exactly the right spot heading onto the oval?
Well, I was playing the strategy at the start of the race. I knew that for you to succeed in the race, you had to be with a partner out of the pits. And I think Rees and Turner, Gardner and Turner pitted 2 laps before me and Riley did. And they sort of, kept up and, stayed with us. But then when Derek pitted by himself, I knew that when me and Riley pitted, we would be out in front of him and basically gone. And that's what happened. And then from then on, I just knew that I had to stay behind and wait because I knew if I did a move before oval 4 on the last lap, it would be all over. So I just waited, and then got it. Perfect run down the inside and got the win.
You got to be happy with that then, and very good evening for you overall. You had the outright pace as well, qualifying up inside the top 5 for both races, and racing up there in both as well. Well, looking forward, is that the form turned around potentially for yourself heading into Lime Rock Park next week? Unfortunately, a complete reversal style of racetrack. We're back to the short and narrow. Looking forward to that?
Not particularly after what happened last week at Lime Rock, sort of,
Wait.
short circuit.
Next week, Summit Point.
Well, still the same thing with the short course and everything, but I don't know. I think this was sort of a one-off round, but it still really, really puts the morale up for the rest of the season now after showing what was an amazing results here tonight.
Well, congratulations. Before we let you go, who are the people who get done for you and the sponsors you want to give a plug to?
Lightspeed Esports, they've been amazing. Basically since the start of the year, since I joined with them. Also, Shines, Thrustmaster, Apuria, and also, there's one more. Next Level Racing. They've been, they're really good sponsors of us, and hopefully, I can get a good result come next week.
Well, thank you for joining us, and a best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
That was your race winner, Mia Ott. Very happy after that, and standing by with Cameron Dance. We've got Riley Preston up here.
Well, Riley, you can't be too displeased with the results, especially considering what happened to Jackson Susan Harlow. So, yeah, you got to be happy with that.
Unfortunately, no, I am not, to be honest. But race one, it wasn't great with the turn 1 incident. I'm not sure what the stewards decided on that, but it is what it is, and had some fun fighting back through the field, so that was good. And race 2, I thought I had it, but I was unaware that we were allowed to use the apron crossing the finish line, so I didn't defend that, and that's the way it goes.
Well, on the topic of race 2, did you possibly think tyre wear was going to be an issue at all in terms of the way that obviously the banking was going to really punish the tyres a lot, or was it more or less just a matter of being smooth and just being consistent with the tyre the whole time?
Yeah, I think Daytona definitely required a bit of a different approach on the car, especially considering the tracks we usually race at. But I did find some tricks in the setup to help with that a little bit and help my race pace, and seems like it paid off.
Well, it certainly did. And now, before we head to Summit Point Raceway, are you looking forward to, and what possible things do you think might happen?
It's a very tight and twisty circuit, so it's always going to be pretty hectic. Complete change of pace to Daytona, but looking forward to it as usual.
Well, before we let you go, just any thanks and any shout-outs you want to give.
Yeah, thanks to Evolution Racing Team and the sponsors, Banter Race Fuel, MIR Raceline, and JRT. Sorry I couldn't get the win today, but hopefully next week.
Well, there you have it, Ryan. Second place in race 2, and I believe you are standing by with Jackson Susan Harlow.
Yeah, definitely a tale of two different stories for you today, Harley. First of all, the victory in race 1, but that didn't come without its drama either, did it? Down at turn 1 with an incident with Preston.
Yeah, turn 1. Don't know what happened there on my screen. I went in deep to cover off them and, just try and scare Riley a little bit. And then he came down he came down on me. I probably had a nose there. And on my screen, I didn't even get contact. It was just netcode on my screen. But, I don't know. I think it was just hard racing and move on from it.
And managed to hold on for race 1. The end of race 1, you had two teammates lined up behind you. You must have been extremely worried that they were going to team up, but they didn't. You got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I knew they were going to race hard together. All race, they were not working together. They were trying to pass each other. I didn't have any teammates there, so I knew what I had to do, and that was stay in the lead because I knew as soon as I go to second, Kananzi or one of them would just bomb me, and that's the race over. So I did everything I could to get to the front as quick as possible, stay there, and yeah, just do perfect laps, and that's what I did. So can't complain with that.
Definitely a good win to go 5 from 5. But then in race 2, it sort of just exploded, quite literally, in your face. What happened coming out of turn 1? It just seemed that you and Kananzi just got stuck together, perhaps? Or what's your take on it?
Oh, I don't know what happened. Like, it's probably my own fault. I stuffed up quali, locked the front, so that's my bad. Shouldn't have been starting there. And then, yeah, just into turn 1. I went in deep. I wanted to get past Ryan because I knew I had more pace than him outright. So did that, and then I think Brett went in deep, hit the back of me. I think he got locked onto me, but the only problem was, like, I think if he got on the brakes straight away, we could have got disconnected each other, like me and my mates did in practice, and we were able to get off each other. But instead, yeah, I don't know, just over exaggerated and took us both out.
Well, good news for you is you had a bit of a margin, not a big one, but a slight one in the championship. So unfortunately, you dropped back to 3rd, but it's just 6 points covering you top 3, Jarrett, Preston, and yourself. So last half of the season coming up, going to be one heck of a fight between all of you, and heading into Summit Point next week, looking to bounce back.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's a bit annoying when you get 5 wins and you have one race where you get taken out and end up going to 3rd. So it's not the ideal way to go, but yeah, I'll just have to try and go for 6 from 6 in the next couple of rounds.
Wouldn't surprise me one little bit. Before I let you go, who are the sponsors that get it done for you?
Just Alt C Sports, the Chiefs, Astro Gaming, Modem Simulation, Cube Controls, and Logitech G. Just all them guys for the support. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us after a difficult race 2, and best of luck heading into the next round.
Cheers. Thank you.
Well, that was your race 1 winner, Jackson Susan Harlow, who jumps back to 3rd in the championship with 3 interviews under our belt. We are going to wrap things up here on Simspeed TV. What a fantastic night of racing it has been in the Australian Turbo Touring Car iRacing series, thanks to Simfinity, RMS Race Management Service, RSW Graphics, and Apex Imagery. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Next week, we're headed to Summit Point, but before then, plenty more action coming up on SimSpeed across both our YouTube channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure you like us on social media and subscribe to us on YouTube so you don't miss any of that action. From myself, Ryan Jones, from Cameron Dance alongside me, and Jake Kennedy behind the scenes, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get involved.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?